morning. Tonight, Interfaith Council cautions against inciting utterances that can flare up the polity. Abide by rules of your host community. Stay away from crime. The Ala cattle breeders tell members after meeting with the Sultan of Sokoto. Hope rises for possible return of more Chibok girls as another girl escapes from Boko Haram den. Netherlands Court of Appeal in The Hague orders oil giant Shell to pay Nigerian farmers compensation over oil spill. And European Union drugs regulator approve use of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine for people above 18 years. Plus, we see business, sports, and later international news from our London studios. On business news tonight, Nigeria's stock market emerges as Africa's best performing bourse in this month, ranked 7th on the Bloomberg World Equities Index chart.
On sports news tonight, Madagascar's Ahmad has been restored as CAF president following a ruling by the Court of Arbitration for Sport.
And from Abuja, irregular migrants repatriated from Saudi Arabia protest against federal government's mandatory quarantine order. Only a peaceful and secure nation would guarantee safety for all. And for members of the Interfaith Forum, one way of maintaining unity is for everyone to desist from making utterances that could incite violence. The leader of the forum, rising from a meeting today in Abuja, also condemns the labeling of any ethnic group as masterminds of the killings and kidnappings in some parts of the country.
The unwholesome security situation in the country was initially domesticated to the northeast and to some extent the north central. It is worrisome that it is steadily moving to the other parts of the country. However, we should not throw the baby with the bathwater, as some provocative, stereotypical profiling and criminalization of a tribe or religious group is unethical to peace building. We have said it several times that there are criminals in all religious and tribal groups in Nigeria. As religious and community leaders, we should be able to undertake internal cleansing of all by checking any negative coloration in the society. The federal, state, and local government authorities must have a synergy on how to handle cases of banditry, kidnapping, and other forms of criminality, with the security agencies working in tandem with the local vigilantes to flush out the criminals emanating all over. And we are appealing to the governments at all levels to support various groups that are working to promote dialogue where opinions differ in the best interest of the security and lives of the citizens of this country. We are also calling on Nigerians to support efforts of the government to promote lasting peace in all regions of the country.
Meanwhile, the Sultan of Sokoto, Mohammed Saad Abubakar, and the leadership of the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, MAGBEN, have been discussing the security challenge facing Fulani herdsmen. The meeting, which held behind closed doors, attributes the inability of the government to act decisively against criminals who perpetuate crimes under the guise of herdsmen as one of the reasons for the rising cases of kidnapping and banditry in the country. After the meeting, the Secretary General of MAGBEN also asked all its members, especially those in the southwest, to abide by the rules of their host communities and stay away from crime.
The Sultan of Sokoto and leaders of the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, MAGBEN, are at this meeting in Abuja to brainstorm on solutions to the recurring security challenges, which include cattle rustling, banditry, and kidnapping. The meeting, which held behind closed doors, had State Chairman of the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria in attendance. At the end of the closed-door session, some members of the association addressed journalists on the deliberations, blaming the government for failing in its responsibilities and tactically supporting criminality.
We have seen how kidnappers have been collecting money and they are enjoying it. And what the government is saying is that, fine, is in a way legitimizing that industry. Because when it can't do what it needs to do and what it should do and what it can do, then they are basically saying, in other words, that, well, yes, if government themselves are paying money, if the institutions, the security institutions, are themselves paying money to kidnappers to release their own people, and there are incidences like what you people in the press have reported it, that means that you are actually supporting a growing criminal industry.
The Secretary General of the group alleges that there are yet to be identified individuals whom he describes as merchants of crime who benefit from the kidnapping and other forms of criminality in the society.
So many times when they are caught, you see when they are interviewed, they will tell you 10 million have been taken from as a ransom, but out of that 10 million, if you ask them how much was given to you, they will tell you either 20, 50,000 at most. So this goes to show you that there are some big matters behind this racket here.
The Secretary also has this piece of advice on how herdsmen should behave in their host communities.
Stop farm disruptions, stop allowing children to go on cattle rearing, stop night grazing, respect the tradition and cultures of those guys who stay with and their religion as well. Be your brothers' keepers. Stay peaceful, recognize rules and regulations, let down rules and regulations, and avoid criminality. Don't condone, don't support, don't participate in criminality.
There have been so many acts of uninterrupted criminality in recent times, including kidnapping and banditry. Majority of these crimes have been attributed to herdsmen.
Staying with the farmer herders crisis, the governor of Plateau State, Mr. Simon Lalong, today visited the president and discussed the implementation of the National Livestock Transformation Plan. According to him, the implementation of the project, headed by the vice president and originally designed to run from 2019 to 2028, will significantly address the farmers herders crisis in the country.
Plateau is a pilot state. About 9 states were pilot states to address some of these issues. And the issue was to move away from the old ways of rearing cows and to find ways of addressing a modern way of doing it. In some places, they will do it that way, but then in a confined environment, which was all agreed. And that is part of what I was raising, that to remind Mr. President to hasten the implementation of the NLTP, is National Livestock Production. So in that livestock production, that's what we are talking about, because we are still left with problems of herdsmen farmers even after that. So the implementation of that livestock program will go a long way in addressing some of these issues that we are talking about. Whether we like it or not, we need cows.
Let's go over to Kaduna State, where no fewer than 12 persons have been killed and houses burned after suspected bandits attacked a Fulani settlement at Naiko village in Giwa local government area of the state. Most residents of the community whose houses were burned have fled their homes and are currently taking refuge at Bakalau village in Gabi local government area. One of the residents, Nura Haruna, said he lost 2 of his sons and 2 brothers to the attack.
Kidnappers come to kidnap Alhaji Nabu, so they no succeed in kidnapping Alhaji Nabu. They now kill one of his son and injure 2 people. After they left, the next day, the people around the villages, they gather themselves and take law into their hand, start killing people. After they burn their villages around Doka and Jaki, they now come down to our place, start killing people.
We have received reports from this very family that 12 members of their community, who are mainly herders, were killed on the allegation that some kidnappers who carried out a certain criminal act came from their settlement on that allegation. So we came here to appeal to them to be calm, that the security agencies are presently carrying out investigation. And at the end of the day, government will ensure that justice is done as far as this issue is concerned.
And to some more stories. In conforming with the constitutional requirements, the President has written to the National Assembly for the confirmation of the appointment of the new service chiefs. An aide to the President on National Assembly matters says, contrary to fears expressed in some quarters that the President has bypassed the National Assembly in the process of the appointment of the service chiefs, the President actually sought confirmation of the Senate in a letter. Senator Babajide Omowurare explains that the letter could not be read on the floor of the Senate because the members are on recess. It was a forum for an exchange of baton as the old and new service chiefs met today in Abuja. The immediate past Chief of Defense Staff, General Gabriel Onishakin, wants Nigerians to cooperate with the military in order to ensure the security of the country, while the newly appointed Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Loki Irabo, pledges commitment to the Nigerian Armed Forces to tackle issues of insecurity headlong.
It's a new leadership as the Chief of Defense Staff and other service chiefs assume office in Abuja. At the Mogadishu barracks, it was a colorful event as soldiers displayed their dexterity in quick and slow march. The immediate past Chief of Army Staff delivers a farewell speech before he is pulled out of the army.
The Nigerian Army, under my leadership, was able to achieve great feats in the fight against insurgency in the country.
The new Chief of Naval Staff takes over the mantle of leadership with a promise to sustain the development of the Navy.
I want to assure the outgoing Chief of the Naval Staff, sir, that I am going to uphold the good works that he has begun and ensure that we move the Nigerian Navy to yet greater heights.
From the Mogadishu barracks, the arrival inspection of the quarter guard at the Nigerian Air Force headquarters by the new Chief of Air Staff signals the commencement of events leading to the change of baton. Handing over speech is read, followed by the signing of handing and takeover notes.
I am very excited that we have not only restructured the Air Force substantially, but we have also embarked on massive air operations in different parts of the country.
Howbeit, since the Nigerian Air Force is a continuum and our mission remains the same, be rest assured, sir, that we will work assiduously to consolidate on the already made gains while charting a new course to take the Nigerian Air Force to the next and higher pride of place.
With the assumption of office of all the service chiefs, they converge on the conference room of the Defense Headquarters to witness the handing over ceremony of the new Chief of Defense Staff. The immediate past Chief of Defense Staff explains the security situation prior to the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, just as the new Chief of Defense Staff assures Nigerians of improved security.
We all could recall that at the inception of the current administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, the Boko Haram terrorist group held sway in parts of northeast Nigeria, where they self-occupied 20 out of 26 local government areas in Borno State.
We will, in no time, take actions that will significantly add value to the security disposition across the country.
The new service chiefs have an Herculean task of solving security problems such as insurgency in the northeast, banditry in the northwest, and kidnapping for ransom across the country.
In part 2, after the break, hope rises for possible return of more Chibok girls as another girl escapes from Boko Haram den. Plus, Netherlands Court of Appeal in The Hague orders oil giant Shell to pay Nigerian farmers compensation over oil spill. And we'll be joined by constitutional lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Mike Ezekome. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Interfaith Council cautions against inciting utterances that can flare up the polity. Abide by rules of your host community. Stay away from crime. Mieti Allah cattle breeders tell members after meeting with the Sultan of Sokoto. Hope rises for possible return of more Chibok girls as another girl escapes from Boko Haram den. Netherlands Court of Appeal in The Hague orders oil giant Shell to pay Nigerian farmers compensation over oil spill. And European Union drugs regulator approve use of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine for people above 18 years. In the Chibok girls' abduction saga, with reports of escape of some of the abducted girls today. One of the parents of the abducted Chibok girls confirms that his daughter, identified as Halima, has escaped from her captors. The chairman of the parents of the abducted Chibok girls, Ali Nekeki, confirmed this to Channels Television today. Mr. Nekeki said Halima's father personally confirmed to him that he spoke with his daughter on phone and she told him she's with the military in Maiduguri, but he doesn't have details of the circumstances surrounding Halima's escape. The father of the latest escapee lives in a village some 50 kilometers away from Chibok community. Attempts to reach the media coordinator of Operation Lafayette Dole, Colonel Adeisa, proved futile as his line was switched off. Channel Television also gathered from other sources that several other girls also escaped from their captors, but one of them is from Chibok. A total of 276 schoolgirls were abducted from their hostel in 2014 by a group of gunmen, sparking international outrage. 57 of them escaped, while government was able to negotiate the rescue of some others, while 102 are still in captivity. Meanwhile, one of those behind the clamour for the return of the Chibok girls, who is also a girl child rights activist, Bukola Shonibare, has been reacting to the report of the escape of the girls from Sambisa Forest. I spoke to her earlier about the chances of more girls returning and the role of the military in the search and return of other girls.
It's an exciting news. At least that indicates that the Chibok girls are still alive. It indicates that they are still somewhere. And with the fact that we have new service chiefs, it means that they have, new success indicators in that there are girls somewhere that they must then go and rescue. So my first reaction was the same way I felt when Amina and Lee Nkeki came back, on May 18, 2016. Like the first reaction that, yes, we have another girl. It's been over 3 years since the 82 Chibok girls were brought back. That was on May 7 of 2017. That was the last time we had any girl come back. So having Halima come back is yet another proof that the girls are somewhere and they must be rescued. And so long as the Chibok girls are still in abduction, it tells you that whatsoever way we may be thinking that we are winning this war, this terrorism war, the Chibok girls rescue, the rescue of Leah Sharibu, and every other abductee is an indicator of how successful it is. So my key message to the new service chiefs is that 112 Chibok girls are still in abduction almost 7 years on, and they must be brought back. The President Muhammadu Buhari administration promised in May 2015 that this administration would not be deemed successful unless the girls are brought back. And so it is responsibility of these new service chiefs to make sure that this particular issue is resolved.
And to other stories, after 13 years of legal battle, a Dutch appeals court today ordered energy giant Shell's Nigerian subsidiary to compensate 2 farmers for the damage to their land caused by leaks in 2004 and 2005. 2 other farmers have died since the case was first filed in 2008. Royal Dutch Shell had argued that saboteurs were responsible for the leaks in underground oil pipes that have polluted the delta. Well, joining us for more insight into today's landmark judgment in the Netherlands is constitutional lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Mike Ezekame. Thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
Yeah, thank you very much. Welcome, viewers.
Now, the Dutch court pronouncement today that, yes, there was oil spill in some communities in the Niger Delta and ordering that farmers be compensated. What's your take on this?
Yeah, my take is that it's a groundbreaking judgment. It's very good for host communities, as oil-bearing communities, that some lessons must be learned by these multinationals that come to Nigeria, not only to explore oil, but to exploit the people. They stay in ships that float on water, that are like hotels. They do not know what the people go through. They do not know that many of these people drink from the water that they also defecate into. They do not recognize that, like in the ancient mariner, it is water everywhere, not fit enough to drink. They do not care that Nigeria flares about 8 billion cubic feet of gas every year, out of the 150 billion cubic feet of gas that is flared across the world, but that USA, Iraq, Iran, and Russia that flares 45% of this gas have certain inbuilt mechanisms to take care of the devastating effect of this gas flaring. They do not care that gas flaring leads to acid rainfall, that it devastates the environment, agrarian and aquatic. They don't give a damn that the people, since oil was discovered at Olebiri in 1956, that the people are living below poverty line. It is from that perspective, I personally believe that the judgment by the Court of Appeal at The Hague in Netherlands, in the case of Anglo Royal Dutch Oil Company, against that company and its Nigerian subsidiary, the Shell Petroleum Development Company, SPDC, is historic, is epochal, and must be celebrated.
Senior advocate, I mean, this is the Court of Appeal, and there's also the right to approach the Supreme Court. What do you think will happen there? And especially this judgment, what impact do you think it has on the relationship between host communities and oil exploration companies, bearing in mind some of the similar cases we've seen where nothing like compensation was given?
Yeah, let me say that it's a lesson for the oil, these multinationals, that it cannot be business as usual, that there must be corporate responsibility to the oil-bearing communities where they operate and make billions and billions of dollars every year. Yes, they are also entitled to appeal to the Supreme Court in the Netherlands, but let me predict, like Nostradamus, the man who saw tomorrow, let me predict, like the oracle at Interfaith, that gazes into the future to pronounce the next all need to be, that the appeal will be lost because the case is grounded on facts, on figures, not on fairy tale from the Arabian Nights. The case has been on since 2008. Indeed, 2 of the 4 farmers have since died. But it was made clear that this company was responsible for the underground burst pipes that led to oil spillage. The court even went ahead to say, hello, this is not just the judgment. You have a duty to clean up the community, to ensure that you have inbuilt seals for your pipes in a way that they do not burst. So if they appeal, I can assure you that it will be a case that will be won by these poor farmers. And by the way, that is if they appeal. But if they do not appeal, let me tell you how the judgment can be enforced. It can be enforced in Nigeria here. But the amount, which has not yet been fixed by the court at The Hague, must be changed into the Naira equivalent. They can enforce it through what you call the Foreign Judgments Enforcement Act, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, particularly sections 2, subsection 1, section 3, subsection 1, and section 10, subsection A of that act. It allows a foreign judgment in a case that has been won to be brought to Nigeria and registered in any high court where the subject matter arose. For example, the subject matter in this case arose from two villages, two towns called Goi and Oruma, and I guess they are in Rivers and Bayelsa State. They can go to the high court there and register the judgment. Then with an affidavit, they have to show in the affidavit that the oil company, the Royal Dutch Oil Company there, and the DPC in Nigeria did actually participate in the proceedings, and they agreed that that court in Netherlands should bind them.
All right.
They will also show that there was no fraud. They must also show that they were served. They must also show that there is no existing appeal or no intention to appeal. It is only the Minister of Justice and Attorney General that can stop such enforcement from being made or from being entered. But he himself must give reasons, because you cannot just stop a litigant from reaping the fruits of his labor. So I think this is a new dawn when new vistas have been opened, where the eyes of the local communities have been opened. It is a punch at the intestines of these multinationals that think Nigeria is simply a land or a no man's land where they can come and reap what they have not sown. It's very good for Nigeria, good for oil-bearing communities, good for the poor people of the Niger Delta that have been at the receiving end. The goose that lays the golden egg, over 75 to 80% of Nigeria's income, which all the states gather at Abuja at the end of every month under Section 162 of the 1999 Constitution to come and share. Many Nigerians do not care how the cake is baked. They only know how the cake is shared.
We'd like to thank you.
Not how to develop a country.
Senior Advocate in Nigeria, Mike Ezekome, thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
When the News at 10 returns, irregular migrants repatriated from Saudi Arabia protest against federal government's mandatory quarantine order. Please join us again. We head now to the nation's capital, where Linda Kiwe has some more stories. Good to see you, Linda.
Hello, Millicent. Good to see you and welcome to Abuja. 224 Nigerians repatriated from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia today staged a protest against the quarantine order by the Nigerian health authorities on their arrival at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. According to them, they were certified COVID-19 negative by authorities in Saudi Arabia, where they spent several months in isolation camps before being deported. Our correspondent Emperor Simon reports.
The arrival of the Saudi Arabian airline conveying the returnees. At exactly 11:57 a.m., the flight touches down at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, and shortly after, the returnees begin to disembark. They are conveyed by a bus from the apron to the arch terminal at the airport. Defiling, but before being ushered to their seats, they undergo temperature checks. After settling in, an official from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs welcomes them back home.
Welcome, and welcome, and welcome.
It's the turn of the Nigerian Center for Disease Control to address the returnees.
It's to ensure institutional quarantine for returnees into the country.
But no sooner had the representative of the center started speaking, the returnees begin to protest. They are against the decision to be quarantined in Nigeria. They insist that they have no COVID-19. For some, it's the experience in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that harms them. But government officials insist on having them quarantined, assuring them of better care.
They were thinking that they will have to transport themselves. I'm also going to assure them that we are arranging transport for them. They are also thinking that they will feed themselves for the period of quarantine. I'm also going to assure them that during the period of quarantine, that food, drinks are prepared for them.
Although officials from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs are assuring the returnees that their welfare will be adequately taken care of, they do not want to yield. They do not want to go to quarantine center. All they want is that they want to go back to their homes, and they want that immediately. From the arch terminal at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
A Kaduna State High Court, presided over by Justice Gideon Kurada, has vacated the order it made directing the Nigerian Correctional Center to release Zinat, the wife of the embattled leader of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, Ibrahim El-Zakzaky, for COVID-19 treatment. Justice Kurada had on January the 26th ordered Zinat's release after their lawyer Femi Falano presented a medical report asking the court to allow his client seek medical treatment outside the correctional center in line with the safety measures put in place by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. But the court revoked the order today after an oral application made by one of the defense counsels, Haruna Magashi, who claims that Mrs. El-Zakzaky has regained her health. El-Zakzaky and his wife have been in detention since 2015 after his followers clashed with soldiers in Zaria, Kaduna State. The IMN leader is standing trial for alleged culpable homicide, unlawful assembly, and disruption of public peace, among others. Away from COVID-19 stories, Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has been reacting to a suit by a group accusing him of setting a bad precedent for donating multi-million naira houses for judges and other contributions to professional bodies since he assumed office. The group, identified as Club 401 in the suit, said the action of Governor Nyesom Wike is setting a bad precedent in the state and violates the rule of separation of powers as enshrined in the 1999 Constitution as amended. They want the Federal High Court to make a declarative statement stopping Governor Wike from spending funds which they claim are not appropriated for in the budget. Governor Wike describes the originators of his suit as being ignorant of the process of budgeting and budget implementation.
What will be our contribution to administration of justice? When the structures are dilapidated and it's saying that they are not budgeted for, I didn't know that the lawyer had my own budget. I don't even know that I don't have it in the budget. People who are ignorant about budget will just wake up in the morning and tell you the governor has no right to donate money somewhere. They don't even know what's called budgeting. They make all kinds of allegations without having the true facts. It's really unfortunate. Part of the problem we have is the legal aid profession. Everybody knows the law, even when they don't know the law.
Arriving the Umaru Musa Yaradua Airport in Katsina ahead of the National Membership Registration and Revalidation exercise of the All Progressives Congress in his hometown Daura. He was welcomed by the Governor of Katsina State, Aminu Masari, and other top dignitaries. The President is expected to register tomorrow at Serikin Yara Ward in Daura at about 12 noon. The APC had on Thursday announced that there would be no registration by proxy in the membership registration and revalidation exercise. The party had mandated members to be physically present at the exercise. And that's all from Abuja. Now to Teniola for business news.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Welcome to Business News. Nigeria's stock market is once again being ranked as the best performing bourse, but this time on the African continent. According to the Bloomberg World Equities Index chart, the local stock market ranks 7th as it closes the first month of the year in the green territory. Analysts say investors have gained more than 1 trillion naira so far this month, while they expect the rally to continue in the coming months. Just last month, the domestic bourse was ranked as the world's best performing stock market for 2020 on the Bloomberg's tracking of stock market indexes, just as it hit the 21 trillion naira mark for the first time ever, with 5 listed companies reaching more than 1 trillion naira capitalization each. Nigeria's Forex exchange reserves has recorded its first weekly decline for the year. Latest data obtained from the central bank shows that the external buffers dipped by $113.39 million week on week to stand at $36.40 billion as at January the 27th. The country's Forex reserves had firmed up by $1.3 billion from $34.94 billion in November 2020 to $36.23 billion as at January the 21st. Meanwhile, at the Forex market, the Naira was flat against the US dollar at 394 Naira 13 kobo at the investors and exporters window, but weakened by 0.6% to 480, I beg your pardon, at the parallel market. Well, back to the stock market, where after starting the last trading week of January positive, it has maintained the uptrend for a fifth consecutive day with an additional 127 billion naira gain in total value of listed equities. Amy John Mekwa has the details.
Thank you so much and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Globally, we saw U.S. retail store gains, stock trading frenzy spooked investors pushing stocks down, but that's not the case here as our local market is not often perturbed by the global trend. Well, look at that. It's the bull again. This market is being driven majorly by investors' appetite for better returns owing to the low yield environment in the fixed income market. And of course, earnings season has kicked off in full, so a lot of them are also taking position ahead of the dividend payout. Today we saw companies like Herdsmen, Stanbic, IBTC and First Bank release their results, but they were unaudited. Meanwhile, audited results are still being expected. We also see the all-share index closed in the green again, this time by 0.58%. MTN Nigeria is to be thanked majorly for this, but the week to date close was quite substantial at 3.44% up. Bargain hunting, of course, continued, and what we see, we have here on the activity chart, over 669 million shares valued at almost 7 billion naira in 6,663 deals. Well, let's say the bull will remain in the market at least for now, and traders don't see profit taking. Instead, the expectation for next week is a hold sentiment and a consolidation. Back to you.
And that's business news tonight. It's back to Millicent for the rest of the news at 10.
Thanks, Taniola. The European Union's drugs regulator has approved the use of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID vaccine for people aged over 18. For more international news, let's join Simon Pusey in our London studios for Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. China has warned that attempts by Taiwan to seek independence means war, days after China stepped up its military activities near the island.
I ran for president because...
It also comes after US President Joe Biden reaffirmed his commitment to Taiwan and set out his stance in Asia. The US has called China's latest warning unfortunate, adding that tensions did not need to lead to anything like confrontation. China sees democratic Taiwan as a breakaway province, but Taiwan sees itself as a separate sovereign state.
Sees no reason why tensions over Taiwan need to lead to anything like confrontation. And so we find that comment unfortunate and certainly not commensurate with our intentions to meet our obligations under the Taiwan Relations Act.
A new coronavirus vaccine has been shown to be 89.3% effective in large-scale UK trials. The Novavax jab is the first to show in trials that it is effective against the new virus variant found in the UK. Prime Minister Boris Johnson welcomed the good news and said the UK's medicines regulator would now assess the vaccine. If approved, the doses are expected to be delivered in the second half of this year. Clashes have broken out between protesting Indian farmers and a group of men shouting anti-farmer and pro-police slogans near the capital, New Delhi. Farmers' leaders accuse local police and politicians of instigating skirmishes at the northern site to turn sentiment against them after thousands of farmers marched overnight to reinforce colleagues camping out on the outskirts of New Delhi. The farmers want the government to withdraw 3 new farm laws that they say will hurt their livelihoods for the benefit of large private produce buyers. Protesters in Lebanon have destroyed a government building in the northern city of Tripoli in a 4th night of unrest over strict lockdown measures. More than 100 people were injured in Thursday's clashes between demonstrators and security forces. Earlier in the day, crowds marched at a funeral of a protester who eyewitnesses say was hit by a bullet, likely shot by police. The total curfew was imposed this month to halt a surge in COVID cases. People are forbidden from leaving their homes unless they are essential workers, and they must rely on deliveries from supermarkets for food. Half the country's population of now nearly 7 million is estimated to be living under the poverty line. Foreign Minister Javad Zarif has said it will not accept US demands that it reverse an acceleration of its nuclear program before Washington lifts sanctions. Mr. Zarif said the demand is not practical. The nuclear deal was struck by Iran and 6 major powers and committed Iran to restricting its nuclear program in return for sanctions relief from the United States and others. Israel and Gulf Arab states strongly oppose the deal as not being stringent enough on Tehran. Former US President Donald Trump abandoned the deal in 2018. And finally, we all know that AI is going to play an increasingly important role. Well, now artificial intelligence has brought a South Korean singer back to life on stage. One of South Korea's rock legends, Kim Kwang-seok, passed away in 1996, but nearly 25 years later, fans are able to hear his voice sing a song written 6 years after his death. Mr. Kim's voice has been resurrected for a TV program called Competition of the Century, AI versus Human. His voice has been reconstructed with singing voice synthesis, a program developed by an AI company which mimics the range of human vocal cords. The technology means Mr. Kim's voice can now sing over 700 different Korean songs. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Next is sports news with Ayotunde Balogun.
Thanks, Millicent. Mohamed Zufi Kilo scores the only goal as Plateau United edged past Nasarawa United in the first game to be played on match day 7. Now, Zufi Kilo scored in the 36th minute to give the Solid Miners victory at the new Jos Stadium. With this win, Plateau United climbs to 5th position on the league table, although this can change when other matches are played. The loss ends Nasarawa United's unbeaten run this season in the NPFL. Ahmad Hamad has been reinstated as head of the Confederation of African Football (CAF) pending his urgent appeal at the Court of Arbitration for Sport (CAS). CAS says it granted Ahmad an interim ruling to freeze his 5-year ban by FIFA ahead of an appeal hearing on March the 2nd. CAS said though its judges ruled in Ahmad's favor, they emphasized that such temporary decision does not prejudge in any way the decision it will take after analyzing the merits of the case. Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp hopes that centre-back Joel Matip's injury is not as serious as initially feared. Klopp admits that the club will have to look for solutions to their defensive injury crisis before the transfer window deadline on Monday. With senior centre-backs Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez already ruled out with long-term injuries, the German tactician was dealt another setback after Matip was forced off in Thursday's Premier League victory over Tottenham Hotspur. And that's sports news. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. It's back to you, Millicent, for the wrap.
Thank you, Ayotunde. And the main news again. The Interfaith Council today cautioned against inciting utterances that can flare up the polity. They also called for the support of all Nigerians for the attainment of peace in the country. Also today, a Netherlands Court of Appeal in The Hague ordered oil giant Shell to pay Nigerian farmers compensation over oil spill. And European Union drugs regulator today approved the use of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine for people above 18 years. Well, that's News at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night.